You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hello, mama friends. Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Mama Work It podcast. So glad you're here. If you are new to Mama Work It, we support women in the juggle of mom life, work life, wife life, fill in the blank life. And I am your host and the founder of Mama Work It, Marissa Lonick. Super excited to introduce you to our guest today. Her name is Annie Pratt, and she serves as the VP of Operations at Alcatraz, a global provider of frictionless AI-powered biometric access control solutions, revolutionizing security through facial authentication. In this role, Annie oversees the company's ongoing diverse operations and procedures, ensuring business efficiency. Prior to joining Alcatraz, Annie kicked off her career at Axon Enterprise in product management, where she launched connected camera and software solutions in a hardware-as-a-service business model. She then went on to run the consumer products business units with its own P&L, dedicated sales, marketing, manufacturing, supply chain, and quality functions. In 2019, she joined the founding team at Atlas Motor Vehicles, an electric vehicle technology startup, and served as the company's president starting in April 2020. What a time to join that role. Annie drove operations across the business, including engineering, supply chain, manufacturing, quality, program management, finance, fundraising, legal, marketing, and business development functions. In 2022, Atlas went public on NASDAQ, rebranded to NXU in 2023, and has entered into agreements to be acquired. Annie received a BS in Product Design Engineering from Stanford University, where she was awarded the Stanford Award of Excellence as a top 10% student for her commitment to leadership. You guys, welcome Annie to the show. Thank you for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. That was quite the intro.
Yes. All right. Well, I know I've said a lot about your career, but I want to hear, and I know our listeners want to hear, tell us more about your journey as a mom alongside these corporate executive functions you've held.
Of course. Yeah, my favorite job. I have two kids. My daughter's 2.5 and my son is 1. And they're the best. But I think being a mom, and especially having young kids while also having a big job, is quite the project. And people are always asking about like balance and things like that. And my perspective is really that balance is impossible. And so I just really try to be present. And so whether I am with my kids, I pick them up from daycare every day. We have about an hour before dinner time. Like I try to be as present as I can with them during that time. And at the same time, when I'm at work, to do a good job, I really need to be present here. And so for me, that has been how I'm doing it. So far, I think it's going okay, but it's also a constant sort of iteration trying to make it all work.
Absolutely. And it's like growth journey. I mean, every age and stage, as you know, with kids, they're evolving and changing. And as a working mom, you're sort of evolving and changing along the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the difference between like when my baby could finally hold his own bottle, like that's a whole different world of possibility then. But up until that point, they're locked on you. And now my daughter, I mean, she's 2.5. She's highly active. And so much of our time is really focused on, okay, what's she interested in? Trying to figure out who she's going to be. It's all just a different phases come with different requirements, I suppose.
For sure. So the majority of your career, Annie, has taken place in the technology startup space.
Mhm.
And it's recently been reported that more than half of women in tech leave the industry by the midpoint of their careers due to lack of support and opportunities. So I'm curious, what did you do specifically to not become part of that statistic and make it work for you as a working mom, especially, I think, which can be the hardest years, the early years when you really, your children are so dependent on you in so many
Yeah.
ways.
I think that stat is just so disappointing because it points to companies not taking great care of their people. And I've been really lucky in that I've been with, when I first had my daughter, I was at my own company. So I got to decide what we were doing to support moms specifically. And we had a great maternity policy, but I think what it really came down to was just flexibility and having a company culture where we prioritize results, not necessarily effort or time spent. And so, what we know about parents, especially of young children, is they're phenomenal at time management because you have to be. And so, having a company that is flexible and allows for that, I think, is key to retaining talent that's going to go on and have families. And I'm lucky also that my current role, so Alcatraz, has been really good about understanding flexibility and time. And I think companies that have not taken that approach aren't supporting young parents. And it's a bummer because I think the company actually sees a benefit from having employees who are really good at time management and highly efficient. You don't necessarily want to have employees who are inefficient and wasting time. So seeing that as a strength with parents is probably a unique perspective.
Absolutely. Yeah. And thank you for saying that, because I think a lot of times, especially working parents, like we tend to feel this overwhelm or this sense of like we're failing at juggling all the things. And I think you hit the nail on the head where you said you inevitably have to be good at time management in some way, shape, or form, or you just wouldn't be able to function in the season you're in. And so I think we have to remember that and like give ourselves a pat on the back for like just all the things we're doing and that we're able to get it done day in and day out. And, it is sort of this internal story and belief we have to rewrite, because we tend to feel like defeated at times at the end of the day, thinking about all the things we didn't get done. But like, what about all the things we did,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also think that for me, it was so helpful to have some people to look up to who I saw doing a good job and sort of emulate what they did. And specifically, like calendar blocking is a huge tool. So on my calendar every day, I know at 4:15 I have to go pick up the kids, and it's blocked. I'm not available. In case of emergency, maybe I'll be able to answer my phone, but maybe not, because I might have two lunch boxes and like a crying kid, and I might not even have hands. So just having it on the calendar and sort of being really transparent with the people I work with has been really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some ways to challenge the norm? If listeners are finding themselves in an industry or working for an organization that doesn't necessarily understand or provide support for moms, maybe they're not valuing, like you said, results over hours at the office.
I think if you're in a situation where the company doesn't operate that way and you're hoping to sort of implement change, leading with data is really helpful, and leading with results. So it's really hard for people to make an argument against results. That's why they're fantastic, and that's why I think making sure you have clarity around what is the job and then what does success look like allows you to then position yourself to clearly show, okay, things are going well. I'm doing a good job without having to work 80 hours a week. getting to the point of having that clarity sometimes is hard and requires a lot of conversation with different leadership members or whatever, maybe your manager, your boss. But if you can get to a point where something is written down and it's clear, it's really hard to argue against that.
Yeah, for sure. Do you ever find that you felt this way, or maybe colleagues have felt this way, that even with the data, even with the results, there's like an internal guilt of like feeling like, oh, but I need to put in those hours because that's what I've always done, or that's what's expected of me?
100%. I think, especially as I was first having my daughter, because before she was born, I worked a lot more. But then I also felt guilt in the other direction of, am I not spending enough time with her? And so I think there's sort of a reckoning that had to happen very early for me, because I did go back to work very early after she was born. There's a reckoning of like, okay, what's the line? And at some point I had to give myself grace and not feel guilty 100% of the time for one way or the other. And just sort of say, this is going to be the time allocation right now. And as long as it's intentional, I'm able to feel good about it. When it's unintentional is when I think the guilt can become really unmanageable.
Yeah. What's a good example that you've experienced between that intentional versus unintentional? I'm curious.
Oh my gosh. Last night, one of our major suppliers is located in China. And so the time zones are tricky to be able to actually get on a call with them. And so I ended up taking a call during what would normally be dinner time. And normally that's not something I like to do, but it had to be done because this was regarding an urgent matter. And so that's a great example of, like this was not how I intended my evening to go. But things happen, right? And so I try to just be understanding, and we push bedtime a little later so I could get a few more snuggles in with my daughter, and that was the best we could do. So I think, I don't know, in those situations I just try to feel good about doing my best.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the majority of us, we are doing our best,
Yeah.
And sometimes your best looks like 150% on one side of the scale, and sometimes it looks like 15, and that's okay.
Yeah. I think in general, especially as parents, we need to just not beat ourselves up. We need to try and feel confident that we're doing our best, and our best is going to be good enough.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
And I do think like my kids getting to see me have a career that I work hard at and that brings me joy is really important, like example to set for them. I want them to have something like that someday. And if they don't see me have it, maybe they wouldn't think that it was possible for them.
Yes, I agree. So what if you find yourself, like you've often been, working in a very male-dominated industry? Are there any specific tips or words of encouragement you might provide listeners who are feeling either like they don't fit in, or they're not being treated fairly, or they might have different responsibilities outside of work given their home ecosystems or societal views or values or just anything like that? Like, can we speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, this is a question I get frequently, and I think it's a tricky one because you can take it one of two ways. One could be like, what do you do to sort of fit in better? But I don't think that works. I think what does work is really leaning into being genuine to who you are and authentic and not trying to hide it. But knowing that you were hired or you're employed because of your unique strengths, and having some confidence in that, and actually letting your differences be your strength and leading with it can be really helpful. So like, for example, I'm in a largely male-dominated industry. I have young children. I don't have a lot in common with all my coworkers all the time, but positioning it as, oh, I'm like super time efficient because I have young kids and look how cute they are and I got to go. So don't waste my time. And we're going to make this meeting really impactful, is me like owning the fact that I'm very different than maybe the larger group at whole. But turning it into a strength can help. It's hard to do, though. I think it's like a muscle that you build over time. It's a muscle you build over time. And so it becomes easier the more you do it. At first, it can feel kind of uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. So because you've been in highly male-dominated industries since the get-go in your career, would you say this is kind of a flex that you've had to tap into for a while now? Like you've got bulging biceps and kind of how to manage this situation?
I like that a lot. Yes, I do think it's something that I had to learn quickly. And I do think one thing that helped get me sort of through it or to learn this was once I would get a win, I would really try and hold on to that and have that be the foundation of my confidence. Because it takes some bravery to like be who you are in a situation where you feel like you're going to stand out as different. But if you get some wins, you start to feel good about yourself, start to establish some credibility with your peers. And then when you're positioning, hey, my difference is actually my strength, they start to see it too, I think, because you've earned the credibility.
Yeah, for
but
sure.
It definitely gets easier over time. I remember, this is sort of a silly example, but early in my career, I remember I would never wear a dress to work. And this was pre-COVID, so we were going into the office every day. And I would only wear like jeans and like a button down or a flannel or something that I felt like, okay, I'm going to blend in more because that's what people wear at the office. Well, that's what people wore at the office because there weren't that many women there. And so with time, I feel like I got some wins. I like got more confident in myself and I dressed however I wanted to dress.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great example. Absolutely. So what if you don't find yourself specifically in a male-dominated industry? There could still obviously be things that impact your confidence at work. So
Sure.
what general ways, I'm curious, like, can we build confidence while trying to juggle so many things that we're doing alongside building our careers as working moms?
I think that like I said earlier, just really holding on to the wins and owning them and feeling like give yourself the moment to feel like, I did it, and really take part in the celebration of it. I think that helps. I also think confidence in life in general is so important. And so it doesn't just need to be work. I think if you're confident outside of work, that sets you up to be more confident in your career also. And the way that you build confidence in life is to be proud of yourself and like recognize your own wins and give yourself that moment of praise, whether it's at home or at work or whatever in your hobbies. I think all of those culminate to you just being a more confident person in all of your life. And I think having things that you're working on so that it feels like you're getting wins, whether it's at work or not. Like I like boxing lately is like my exercise. And I feel like I get a little bit better every time I go. That feels like a win. That helps me feel confident in myself. Like I'm someone who can achieve something. So.
Yeah. How do you celebrate your wins? What's your typical like go-to celebratory ritual?
Oh my gosh. What a great question. I think I just tell my husband about it.
Yeah. A little brag party.
Yeah, that's what I did today. Aren't you proud of me? And I look for him to say it's awesome too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not a great answer though. I might need to work on that.
Who knew this would be turning into a life coaching session?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
All
I feel
right.
like go get a margarita or something. On the next
Gotta up your celebratory rituals.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, on that note, let's dive into some random, fun, lightning round questions. Are you ready for this?
Yes. Maybe. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. These are just so our listeners can get to know you a little bit more personally.
Okay.
Okay. If they made a movie about your life, who would you want to play you?
Oh my gosh, what an interesting question. Who would I want to play me? This is maybe an easy answer, but growing up, I was in high school when Shawn Johnson, who is the gymnast, was in the Olympics, and people said we looked alike. And I follow her now on Instagram and stuff, and I think she's so fun. So I would love for her to play me.
Yeah. Yeah. I follow her too. She does funny videos and stuff. Yeah. Parenting stuff. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, she's fun.
What book are you reading right now?
Ooh, I'm not a big reader, but I listen to a lot of podcasts. I love the Acquired podcast series. They do like these deep dives into different companies. The latest one was Rolex, actually, which is a really interesting company and story. So I love that. And then on the lighter side, I have teed up the How to Giggle book by the Giggly Squad. They're like my weekend podcast type of content.
Fun. I have not heard of that. I have to check that out. Thanks for the
rec. It's about
rec.
taking life less seriously, which I think we could all use a little dose of.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have a guilty pleasure TV show?
Oh my gosh. Anything on Bravo.
Yeah.
Any other reality stuff. I love it all.
All right. What about like a get it done song? Like your motivated go-to song?
Ooh. There's this song. It's called Final Song by, I think it's M.O. It was a song that I listened to on repeat when I was gearing up for like my first big interview for a promotion. And when I was at Axon, so it was early in my career. And it has like stayed my go-to pump up song whenever I need to like get really fired up about something.
Yeah. It worked, right? You're like, this is my good luck charm.
It worked. I probably listened to it like on repeat for several hours before the interview. So it was.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Effective. You really had it sink in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. What's an app you can't live without?
Right Wheel. It's my kids' daycare app, and I get pictures of them learning and playing with their friends all day.
Yay. Yeah, it's such a good one. All right. Last question. What's something most people don't know about you?
Ooh. I grew up on a farm, which a lot of people know about me, but my dream is to end up back on that farm. So, hopefully someday soon I'll have my family out in the country again.
Love it. Thank you so much, Annie, for sharing all that. Before we wrap up, can you tell our listeners where they can find you, learn more about you, connect with you?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for having me. I'd love to connect with people on LinkedIn. You just search Annie Pratt and I'm the one that shows up. So
amazing. Can't get more simple than that. And we'll pop the link in the show notes today. So thank you so much for being a guest and for sharing all about your journey and tips for other working mamas. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.